Hello, my loves. Today's video is actually a bonus video for my 78 Deep Extended students. So if you're watching this in there, hi. Allow this to be an interlude between your studies for this week. But for those of you not in there and are getting the privilege of watching this on YouTube, I want to provide a little context so that we're all on the same page. Right now, I am hosting another tarot study experience. We just finished together on the channel the 78 Deep Study experience, where we go through all 78 tarot cards with a specific framework that I put together. It's totally free. There's a bunch of questions and downloads and all kinds of things. That is still open and available for you if you'd like to take that. But I am teaching what I'm calling an extended version of that, where we are focusing on studying the cards again. But this time we are studying 2 to 3 cards a week instead of studying all 78. We have a selection of cards that we're working through over the course of several weeks. And the goal with that is not so much to learn what the card means per se, because at this point, those in the experience already have the foundational understanding, but it's to really truly begin to peel back the layers of the different themes contained within a card. And we're doing this through several different things. We're looking at the specific card, the knowledge that we already have about the card, the knowledge that's provided in a variety of resources. And then we're also using Oracle to flush out additional meanings of kind of the light and dark aspects of each theme that the card works with. And for this week, the week that I'm doing the bonus video, we're working with the court cards. I also want to say real quick, if you'd like to join that experience, you still can. I'll leave that down below. But this week we are working with the court cards, and the idea of the court cards, or the theme that goes with court cards, is embodiment. Because the court cards within the tarot represent the way that a energy is channeled, a way that an energy is presented, a way that an energy moves through us and comes out kind of into the world through our filter, our personality, the way that we interact with things, etc., etc. So the core cards I like to see as these lenses or different degrees or areas of embodiment of the certain energy of the element and elemental combinations and kind of level of practice we've had with that element, I guess you could say. There are, different balances within that. There is the more nurturing side of things, the feminine energy, and the more masculine side of things with the action energy. All of this is coded into the core cards. And during our study thus far, I have come to a point, because I do this with my students. Every time I do a course, I'm doing it with you. And one of the things that I have noticed since I started looking at our very first court card is my own process of how I work with the embodiment of knowledge, of working with things within my being. And embodiment is kind of one of those buzzwords, right? Where we hear a lot about embodiment, but we don't really know what it means. So I want to talk about and break that down for a second. So embodiment is made up of 3 kind of root words here. So we have in, en, and that means in, like inside, within, right? Then we have body, BODI, and body's root means enlightenment or awakening. And then we have ment, MENT, to finish out our word here, and that is about a result of action. So a result that comes about due to an action that has been taken. So when we put all of that together, right, when we have embodiment, it is the internal awakened results of an action. To put that in more elegant, non-choppy terms, right? It is the internal experience that we feel after having taken action that has resulted in some sort of illumination for ourselves, and we now have within us the results of that action, of that illumination that we have gone through. And this idea of embodiment is something that is quite difficult to explain and at times even harder to teach because the whole idea of embodiment is it's a felt experience. It's something that you feel within yourself, within your body. It's only really able to be described through art. And now language itself is an art, but I do think that language can be very limiting. And art I see as a way of expressing, a way of processing, a way of communicating things that we can't really communicate on any other level. And I'm not talking about art as in like, artists in a museum kind of art. I literally mean any way that you are able to produce something, communicate something, make something that expresses yourself. And the thing that makes art the best way to describe what embodiment feels like or is because art, the energy that is contained within art, can be felt by another person because this art, while sometimes verbal, right? We have books and songs and poetry and the roots of words like I just went through with you and all of these things, right? This voice, these things that I'm sharing with you. This is all art. But even nonverbal art, excuse me, can evoke within us a feeling that we then translate into an understanding of a concept. So now we're moving into describing, right, the embodiment of something. And this is what we're doing when we're studying the cards, is we're coming to an embodied understanding of the card. So we're no longer focusing on, within this particular class that I'm teaching, we're not focusing on Ace of Wands means and then recalling a bunch of keywords. We're focusing on, okay, Ace of Wands feels like within me because I understand intellectually what it means, but I also have an experience that I have rooted in through actively doing my reflections and writing out my reflections and tangibly playing with different cards and then thinking about and feeling within my body what that means. That gives me an embodied understanding, an association, an anchor of a sensation that I can then associate with this and allow that to evoke feeling and inform my understanding and interpretation of the card moving forward, right? Now, this all sounds beautiful, right? Well and good. Like, we're just gonna look at the card and answer our questions and study our things, and then we're gonna have that experience, right? Here's the thing. When you set out to study or explore anything that is going to involve, excuse me, 1 second. When we set out to truly feel something within our body, this is a very complex experience. It's a multi-layered experience. And the catalyst often for that experience can be some type of initiatory study or exploration. And sometimes that is enough, right? We can just sink into this card. We're like, ooh, this makes me think of this. Ooh, fire. Let me think of fire. Let me feel fire. Let me conjure up the emotional reaction I had to um, perhaps a meme of somebody embodying their fieriness, right? And we can feel the idea of embracing the full-on Ace of Wands fire within our bodies. We can associate it with inspiration and all these things, right? And that may be enough. However, there are going to be other cards or things that come up where we aren't able to feel the embodiment of that card yet, because there are other things there that are asking to be illuminated. And this is where the shadow comes in. Now, shadow work is not something that, and this is a side tangent, but shadow work is not something that I actively sit down and say, okay, I'm going to do shadow work, and then try to come up with something or look up something. That's not the way that I do shadow work, and I don't feel that that's very productive in its nature, at least not the way that my alchemical system is wired. For me, shadow work is the act of taking time to notice and unpack things that are happening within my experience as they come up. So it's like watching something bubble to the surface, and then instead of shoving it back down, we pull it out of the pot and we look at it and we take time to explore it and do whatever we need to do with that illuminated information. And one of the reasons that this particular course experience is structured in a slower pace is to allow for those natural processes to come forward. Because as I said, sometimes there are things there when we're trying to feel something within our body that are asking to be dealt with in order for us to kind of uncover that next layer of illumination. And for all of us, there are definitely cards that we struggle with, right? Like I'm a professional reader. I know what all 78 cards mean, but I don't have an embodied understanding of each card on the intense level as I do some other cards, because those cards contain themes that I have personal biases around, that I have wounds around, that I have hangups around. There are skeletons in my closet that just have not been dealt with yet, that are activated by those cards. And those cards can often create this kind of wall or block of recalling certain meanings or getting stuck in only one type of meaning for the card, because I can't really feel the embodiment of what the energy of that card is. I can't feel within my body the expansive nature of that card, because there's something there that I just don't really want to look at, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, you don't have to leave this video and go hammer out all of your shadow work for all 78 cards in record time. Like, that's not what we're talking about, and that's not a prerequisite to being able to read cards for yourself or others. But it is something that I enjoy exploring, not only for myself, but also in my classes, as some of you are experiencing, because you're seeing this as your bonus video, but also in like mentorship packages, right? Because to me, the way that I lead things, the way that I guide you through processes is the same way that I do it for myself. And this starts with a desire to dive deeper into something or to experience something or to study something, right? And then as we dive into that topic, I always I don't make you, but I give you the homework of doing a lot of reflection, of doing self-reflection, of doing expressive writing, of doing actual art, of doing different creative things or things that light you up, right? I have a lot of tasks that I give people that have to do with just spending time with themselves and expressing themselves. And the reason that that's important is because then that leads us to the place where the magic can happen, to the place where the alchemy happens, to the place where transformation happens and things begin to move and shift and the illumination comes. And the reason I give so much homework and not so many lectures, although I give a lot of lectures in my courses, but I can't always intellectually give you the instructions or the 5-step process or the meaning of something, right? And have you walk away with the actual experience that you want to experience. A lot of the magic actually comes from you doing the homework because that activates things within you and allows you to embody the very nature of what it was that you set out to study, learn more about, become more of, whatever it is at the start of our journey together, right? So why are we talking about all this? Well, if you're one of my students in the class, the reason that we're talking about this is because this is something that you may find coming up for yourself as well. And I want to encourage you to take a slower pace as you need to, and to not worry so much about trying to keep up with, oh, I need to study these 2 to 3 cards this week. I'm behind. It's day 2, blah, blah, blah. Like, whatever it is, right? Because let me just use myself as an example. I started with my first card from our study together like 4 days ago. Okay, like 3 days ago. And I did my full card study on the first day, like our first layer of card study. And then I let it sit. And I've been having moments of that alchemical process where things are coming forward because they were activated by my exploration of the card, that I'm now feeling more like, okay, I can kind of touch what it means to embody the Page of Swords. That's the one I'm working with, right? I can kind of touch the energy now of the Page of Swords in a way that I wasn't able to before I started. And now I feel ready to dig into that next layer, to pull out my oracle cards that we're working with and look at this light and shadow stuff. So doing the second day of study, because I'm now ready to add another layer. So you may find that while we have set out to do 2 to 3 cards a week, we really might just, for some of them, dig into one. And that's okay. There's nothing that we're losing out on if you, like me, have chosen to spend the entire week for the courts with one card, maybe 2. It's all part of the natural process. And part of the embodiment work is actually letting the information that you take in. So letting any of those illuminating moments kind of sit within your body, sit within your brain, sit within your energetic field, and see what naturally comes forward from that and make those connections for yourself so that when you further study it, it becomes something that you can feel. Like, we want the card meaning to become tangible, to become something you can chew on, not just in here, right? But in here. And that's ultimately the key to good intuitive reading, right? Because let's be honest, tarot reading itself is an art. Like, we talked about expressing ourselves through art. Tarot reading is an art because it requires you not to approach the cards with a plus B equals C mindset, but to really have a foundational understanding and relationship with your own intuition and how different messages come through as they are sparked by the cards through your own thing, right? We have to have an understanding of our intuitive filter in order to be able to produce, to embody, to have a result of that illumination. So the act of card reading could almost be seen as an active embodiment of illumination, right? Because we are actually like tapping into that information, having the illumination happen, and then like filtering it out through ourselves. That's a whole nother tangent for another topic. But that is why I wanted to do this bonus video for you today. If you're not in my class and you're like, Leanne, I don't know what the F you're talking about, no worries. Why would I share this with you? Well, I feel like this is a really important topic. And if you want to join us in the study experience, you're more than welcome to. Again, like I said, I'll leave that linked down below. But if you're just watching this and you're going to walk away and go on about your life, after this video, allow this to be some food for thought for you about embodiment, about journaling or tarot reading or the art of translating. I was looking for the word. The art of translating feelings that you have into something tangible that you can share with others. And of course, I'm talking about, sharing information through the tarot with this, right? But you can, this applies to a lot of different things. And I also hope that this encourages you to study your tarot in a different way, to think about perhaps the cards that you struggle with or the cards that you have a harder time remembering, and perhaps dip your toes into working with a more shadow work lens with that. If you are interested in working together, perhaps you don't want to take the course, but you want to work one-on-one with all of these themes, that is also an option for you. I'll leave something below for that. But with all that being said, my loves, thank you so much for joining me today. I will see you again very soon. And to my students, my next study with me video will be coming very soon. Take care, my loves.